When we think about coming out, we usually think of it as this really powerful, specific act of revealing your true self. But what if I told you there's another closet? A second, much more universal closet that pretty much all of us live in without even realizing it. A closet that's not built around our identity, but around the whole performance of being an adult.
So that's the big question we're diving into today. Is there a closet beyond the closet? The idea here is that for so many people, coming out is really just the first step. The next journey, and you could argue it's even harder, is leaving the closet that we all share, the closet of adulthood itself.
So, what exactly is this closet of adulthood? Well, think of it as the whole structure of shame that our culture has kind of mislabeled as maturity. It's that constant nagging pressure to perform, to fit in, and to hide who we really are behind this persona we've built up over the years.
Okay, so that leads us right into our first big idea, this concept of adulthood as one big performance. From the time we're kids, we learn that being an adult means defending a certain version of ourselves instead of, just being who we are.
I mean, just think about that for a second. This quote completely flips the script. The adult self isn't this healthy goal we're all supposed to achieve. Instead, it's a defense mechanism, a whole persona built out of shame, and its only job is to defend, compare, and perform for everyone else.
And this is where you really see that core conflict laid out. On one side, you've got being. That's our authentic self, just living in the moment, completely real. And on the other side, you have performing. That's the persona we construct to get by in the world, to survive loss, and to hopefully get some approval. The real tragedy is that most of us get stuck in performance mode for our entire lives.
Now, the source points out that for gay men, this dynamic gets even more intense. It's what it calls a double bind. First, you have that universal pressure of adulthood pushing you to cover up your authentic self. But then it gets compounded by all these specific cultural messages saying that who you are is somehow wrong or unnatural. And all of this leads to this really deep internalized shame that goes way beyond just sexuality. Okay, so if you're living with all this painful shame, how do you try to escape it? Well, a lot of the time, we run to the complete opposite extreme. But as we're about to see, that can be its own kind of trap. And it makes a lot of sense psychologically, right? When that feeling of being wrong or less than just becomes too much to handle, the mind has to protect itself. So it flips the script. It adopts this attitude of defensive pride, this sort of grandiosity, just to shield that wounded part of you. But here's the kicker, and this is such a key point. Shame and pride aren't really opposites at all. They're just two sides of the exact same coin. They are both distorted identities. One is constantly whispering, "I am wrong," and the other is shouting, "I am right." But you know what? Both of them stop you from simply being. They keep you trapped in this never-ending game of judgment. And this is why the source argues that the whole cultural shift from gay shame to gay pride, while totally understandable, might not be the whole story. Because if you don't actually heal that underlying wound of shame, pride can just become another mask, another performance, just another distortion of who you really are. All right, so if pride isn't the answer, then what is? Well, this brings us to what the source calls the path to true wholeness, a way to actually heal that original injury instead of just slapping a Band-Aid on it. The healing process is called epistemological repair. I know, it's a mouthful, but the idea behind it is actually super simple and really profound. It's not about adding something new to yourself, like pride. It's about going back and fixing a fundamental error in your own logic, that mistaken belief you picked up somewhere along the way that there is something inherently defective about you. So, how does this whole repair actually work? Well, the source breaks it down into this three-step process. First, you have to see that the personality you've been defending all these years is really just a scar of shame. Second, you have to consciously decide to stop identifying with that story about me. And third, you just return your focus to being the living, breathing organism that you are right here in this present moment. And the whole goal here is to get back to what the source calls original innocence. And let's be clear, this has nothing to do with being naive or childish. It's actually a really powerful state of clarity. It's about being without all these preconceived beliefs, seeing the world without bias, not being threatened by the truth, and because of all that, becoming really resistant to manipulation. So, after navigating that closet of adulthood, escaping the trap of pride, and going on this whole healing journey, where do you end up? What's the destination? Well, it's about becoming just real. And this is the big aha moment of the whole thing. That carefully constructed identity, the me you've spent years and years defending and comparing and trying to perfect, it was never actually you. It was, as the source so powerfully puts it, just shame pretending to be a self. So at the end of the day, the real coming out isn't just about one part of your identity. It's about getting off this exhausting treadmill of shame and pride completely. It's about refusing to play the game of hiding or dominating ever again. The final destination is a place beyond all these labels. You're not performing humility or puffing yourself up with pride. You're not being crushed by shame. You are, finally, simply real. And that leaves us with one last really important question to ask ourselves. When you strip away all the defenses and the comparisons and that deep need for validation, who are you, really, when you finally stop performing?